Chris and I actually are your founders or leaders of Mile High Dreamin. I'm shameless plug here. August 28th and 29th in Westminster. If you were with us last year, we'll be there again. Speaker submissions, if that's your jam. Beginning of April, we're aiming to open that up. And then ticket sales in May? June.
Probably June, I think, yeah. Early birds, I think June.
Yes.
Those are dates that I have to look at, but yeah.
It's all happening, is basically my shameless plug there for Mile High Dreamin. But beyond being a community group leader and leader of Mile High Dreamin, I'm actually an engineering manager of a business applications team at a company here in Denver called DAT. My journey through Salesforce has been fast and furious over the last 5 years as soon as I found it. Now I lead a team of 10 people at an enterprise org that is been implemented poorly. So every day it's a fun new adventure of how it was configured weirdly. But somehow the lights stay on because we're still collecting money from our invoices. So I'm pretty proud of that. But I'm super excited to welcome this group of people, because where I manage a team of people, these wonderful folks do the work. They do some hard work that I just tell people to do these days. So with that being said, Jeans, let's start with you. Give us a little intro about yourself, who you are, how long you've been in Salesforce, what do you do? In a fun fact. Just kidding, you don't have to do a fun fact.
My name's Nicholas Jeans, but like you heard, I go by Jeans and other related monikers such as Pants, Trousers, Mr. Pants, whatever you got, right? I'm similarly from Hike2, as you may have already heard about tonight, and I'm an architect over there, and I've been there for almost 4 years. I started as a lowly little developer right out of college during COVID, and it's just been an absolute adventure, jack of all trades, do this, do that. Sort of adventure since. So, you know, I've always been looking to focus on the bigger picture, not that building things isn't fun, right? But, you know, started as a developer. I've done a lot of admin stuff as well since we started as a small company, and I've gotten to where I am here right now. Was that all we're looking for?
Yeah, I feel like that covers the bases, so thanks, Jeans.
Fun fact.
You're really going for it. All right, love it.
I'm so bad at fun facts.
That's why I said it, because it's the worst question ever.
You may have to come back to me.
Understood. All right, Lauren, you're next.
My name is Lauren LaMonte. I am a Salesforce developer. I work for a company called Atlassian. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem, as they say, for about 7 years, and I've been a programmer / primarily writing code all day, every working day, plus sometimes weekends for the past 5 years. I studied psychology. I was very set on trying to pursue a career in clinical psychology. So I went into research right after college and was in the research field for about 4 years when I realized I liked working with systems and defining process more than working that closely and intimately with people. I mean, I love people, but decided that maybe that wasn't the best, that level of emotional intensity every day wasn't the best thing for me, and I was having a lot of fun solving problems. So then I started studying for the Salesforce admin cert and got that, and then applied and landed my first gig in the Salesforce ecosystem. I was an admin / analyst, and then kind of worked my way up from there. So. Yeah, and I'm also one of the Denver developer user group leaders, and I will shamelessly plug that we have a meeting on Tuesday from 12 to 1 next week. So join us. We'll be talking about Trailhead DX, I think it's called now. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. All right, David.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Brodie. I'm with Hike2. I'm going to shamelessly plug that for the 5th time tonight. I started about a year ago. I've been in the ecosystem for about 3 years. And I know a lot of people actually ask that question, what is the ecosystem? I've just been working inside Salesforce. I was an admin by accident, like a lot of people have been, that I've heard of through other meetings and events like this. So yeah, I have a big restaurant background, hospitality management, and stumbled my way into Salesforce when I was working for a bioanalytical lab. It's a mouthful. Yeah, they use Salesforce, and I had little experience, and they just handed me the reins quickly. They couldn't hand it to me fast. They didn't want anything to do with doing anything inside Salesforce, so I took it upon myself to do it. That's how I learned, and once I got my admin cert, actually, I'm gonna, I went to Mile High Dreamin. I met Nate at an event, and so networking things like this is huge. It's key. Really, it's super key to getting these contacts and finding your way into that, breaking ground into the job market here. So yeah, that's.
All right, thanks, David. Chris.
Well, I just want to say that is why Mile High Dreamin exists, and that's why all these events exist. We're all leaders are working for free so that we can grow our community, because we all know how big a deal it has been for us, and we want that to continue. And Denver is a pretty significant tech hub. We want everyone else to see that, and we want to experience it ourselves. And so we're excited to see how all of this develops. I'm the only one who can't monitor my levels here, so if I'm too quiet, let me know. What are we talking about? Yeah. So my name's Chris Fellure. I'm a leader in the admin user group, and I was what is, I feel like, becoming less and less an accidental admin. It feels like nowadays people are intentionally becoming admins or devs or BAs or any number of other careers in Salesforce. But back in the day, 5s and 10s of years ago, it was you pretty much either got it handed to you or from my perspective, I have a background in marketing, and I was but an entrepreneur as well. And my wife is an entrepreneur, is an artist now. She owns an art business. Did have a day job, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a job so you can quit your day job and go full-time in your business. And so I got a day job in marketing because it was what was that? Can we play that up a little bit? Yeah. Could you call my wife? Could you just, yeah. No, she's great. And yeah, so I had years of entrepreneurial experience. I was like, how am I gonna get a fancy job at a fancy place doing fancy things? Got in as a marketing person, and then realized no one at these companies knows what they're doing. So it's not a bunch of fancy people doing fancy things. It's a bunch of people just trying to figure things out as best they can, and they need all the help they can get. So once I got in there, they had Salesforce, but they didn't know how to use it, so they had a consultant company coming in building things. And then I learned what you could do with clicks, and I was like, this is amazing. And so I started jumping in, got in Trailhead, got certified, and then immediately again left for more money, which is what was the case back in the day. And so then been doing that ever since. Got into well, we can get more into it later, but now I'm a Salesforce systems analyst, which started as functionally an admin and now is functionally a manager of a team of Salesforce people. So yeah, look forward to. Fun fact. If I'm in a shirt that isn't ridiculous, I'm probably actively interviewing for a job, like I'm actually in the interview. But once the interview's over, the fancy shirt comes off.
I honestly thought you were going to say, someone's kidnapped me. I need help. Okay, interviewing for a job. I didn't see it going that way.
I would never say that out loud with you near me.
Wink twice if you're okay. All right, I want this to be interactive tonight, because honestly, this idea of this panel came out from a previous event we did in 2023, where someone was like, there's so many jobs in the ecosystem, how do you decide, or how do you get to where you're at? In all honesty, I want to make sure you guys are getting the information that's on your minds as you go through your Salesforce journey. But I will start with a few questions just to get us rolling. Or if you guys are super shy, I'll just keep asking my weird questions. And we all saw what I did with Astro, so we don't know where this is going to go. So with that, kind of down the line, Jeans, we'll start with you. Tell us a typical day of a Salesforce architect.
So as a Salesforce architect, if we compare it to, say, being a Salesforce admin who's doing a lot of configuration work, let's say in an org on a platform, or a developer who's writing Apex and Lightning components, an architect can, depending on what sort of you're looking to do or specialize in, and that's a whole other conversation, I think, is you're sort of at the beginning of a build, sort of drawing the bigger picture that other people are building the pieces to. Whether that's part of a sales team and you're trying to get sort of a vague picture together to sell to a client, or you are more of a technical architect and you're sort of, okay, we've sold an engagement, let's say. What are actually the details of what we're building? You might have a technical architect handle that instead. So an architect so much isn't, building the house or building the ship, but they're designing it and handing the plans to a team to actually put it together. That's probably the most succinct definition I can give there of a day in the life.
Actually, that was really great. I ramble on, as you well know, so thank you for pulling it together. Yes. Whoa.
I'm stealing that one. I might credit you, but
It's yours.
All right, Lauren, you're one of the doers, if you will, as a developer. Tell us about a day in your life.
Yeah, so I think as a developer, it kind of depends. I think for all these roles, it kind of depends on where you are and the type of company environment and culture that you're in. I've been a developer at small companies, and now I'm a developer at a pretty large company, and on a very, I'll call it massive, Salesforce dev team. So a day in my life today looks very different than it did like 3 years ago. So I think as a developer, you can be working on a number of things. So you can be working on config stuff, or you can be working on solution design things, or you can be working on actual programming or automation through Flow. Today, as a more, hardcore developer, basically my day starts with a stand-up where we kind of check in with check in with the rest of the dev team, then we go off on our way, and hopefully any roadblocks have been removed during that little meeting. I spend most of my day kind of mapping out smaller chunks of pretty low-level logic and functionality, and then I'll spend an hour or 5 hours actually writing code, depending on the day and the complexity. Something now that is a really big piece of my day that hasn't necessarily been a big piece of my day in the past is spending a lot of time on PR reviews. So PR review is a pull request review, which is essentially anytime you want to make a change to the code base, you submit a review and you have your peers rip it apart, and then you debate for an hour. And it's actually really fun because I have learned so much, but I also, and have also shared my knowledge as well. So I'm either reviewing, I can spend an hour or two reviewing PR reviews in a day, or submitting for them and then kind of shuffling through and adjusting my code and resubmitting a new version. So it's a lot of if you like to write code and logic and problem solve at kind of a lower level while keeping the big picture in mind, I think it's really fun and I really enjoy it.
Do you have any resources on how to learn to do pull requests?
Yeah, so I think so there are kind of two pieces of this. Salesforce development is really its own world within a world. So the main programming language, Apex, is, I would call it almost like a dialect of Java. So it's really its own thing with its own libraries and methods and all of that. So learning Apex and all of that is kind of its own path, but then on top of that, we do use typical dev best practices, so industry-wide standards. Those types of things are way more easily available to learn, almost in an overwhelming way. So I would direct people to Pluralsight, which is an online course academy type thing, and do some fundamentals in DevOps or fundamentals in Git, and what is Git and what is version control, and kind of start there. And then if you're actually looking to learn Apex and all those, and all those very specific Salesforce niche things, I would go more towards Trailhead and the Salesforce and developers.salesforce.com and the Salesforce specific resources.
I think I'll add on real quick to what you're saying. I think you're far better off starting off learning general programming and then going into Apex. I think you're going to have a much easier time and be able to solve problems better. I don't know what's the great word for that, but in a more effective manner, let's say that. So I agree with what you said.
Just as a side note, that question was more for me because I'm trying to learn how to do pull requests.
Lauren, if you can submit an invoice to Nikki, she can.
I can speak to that because I'm now on a dev team that's about 25 to 30 in-house Salesforce developers, and then we have like probably another dozen or up to like 15 or 20 like consultant developers at any given time. So it's a pretty massive, and it's all over the world. So it's a pretty massive team. Prior to that, I was typically the only Salesforce developer on a team. So that was a big jump for me, and that's literally exactly what I was looking for in my career growth at that time, because I got to a point where I was like, I don't know what I don't know. Let's like dive into a place that'll challenge me kind of laterally rather than like horizontally. So anyway, the biggest thing that I've seen is PR reviews is like, I was really, really nervous like for people to review, well, not nervous, but I felt very vulnerable, people reviewing my code so closely. And now I really enjoy it because I have seen how fast I've grown. So kind of like negotiating that and like navigating that has been something that I would never have experienced, prior to this large team. And then also just like different styles and having a lot more meetings and conversations about that are just like opinions and kind of like hashing out opinions of how things should be done. Because you get to a certain point, it's like, okay, well, that's just like a style decision rather than an actual like hard and fast rule.
David, you're a consultant. Tell us about your typical day.
Well, it starts with coffee. A lot of coffee. But mostly just a lot of config. So I work in the managed services area of Hike2, which I genuinely love because I get to deal with the same clients every single day, which is beautiful for me because I get to...
Let's real quick. Mm-hmm. People might not know the difference between managed services and like project teams in the consulting world.
Yeah. So project teams usually consist of what Nate was getting at is larger teams. You have architects and devs and admins and the project manager, kind of like in a hierarchy on that. And then the managed services side, you can have those things, but it depends on kind of the size of the client, I think. But once a project is done, that project is done and that contract is over and everyone moves on with life into the next project. For managed services, it's an ongoing process. So I get to meet with my clients and continuously develop my relationship, develop their org, which helps me gain a better knowledge of how, and the further in I get, how everything's going to work together. So where a project team gets to come in and build maybe a large piece of that puzzle, I get to see like kind of like all of the different pieces and help continue to build those things, which is nice because some things I come back to as an admin and I look at some of the things I built like a year ago and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Go on.
That should be redone.
What's a real bad? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The spotlight is not on me.
What has Jeans had to go in and fix for you?
That's actually a great question, Jeans. I don't know that actually him and I have worked on the same clients together, but...
I was going to say, I don't think we've ever worked together, but we know each other, so...
Yeah. We live and work we live in the same area, work for the same company, but other than that, there's no... But anyway, so that's what the managed services and project differential is. And so for me, my typical day just consists of touching base with my clients, continuing on projects, so many flows and configuration and things of the admin nature where we're building custom objects, everyone should know, I think. So yeah, just building, and in some cases I'm brought in to do some I guess consulting in the way of problem solving. Like, what's the solution to this problem? Which is also a great question to always ask as a consultant. What problem are we trying to solve? Because it's direct and it's forward, and it really makes them think. Because people will dance around things a lot. So yeah, that's a typical. And then I close my computer at 5. Or I try to, anyway.
Perfect. Love it. So Chris, don't tell us like your normal lately typical day. Go back to when you were more purely a systems analyst. What was your typical day back then?
Let's be candid. It's a made-up title. Just like most of these titles are made up. So functionally in Salesforce, you're an admin, you're a dev. What's that?
And the points don't matter.
No. May God have mercy on your soul. Yeah, so I've been a functional admin since I got certified, but I changed to Salesforce Systems Analyst to get more money because it sounds fancier. So when I started in my current role, I was the functional admin on a team of 2 with a developer, but that guy left later, and let me tell you, he did not document anything. JK. But yeah, so
He's not wrong.
my first pivot from admin to analyst was working for an aerospace company that had a mess of a CPQ, and so my whole team pretty much was there to keep CPQ running, which meant anytime sales or marketing had a problem with a price, digging through price rules to see which one might have been the problem or which 2 working together potentially caused one of the problems. And so that was fun. And then as part of that, I got into building out communities for deal registrations and partners. So I really got to understand communities from the inside out, from manually rebuilding between orgs because at the time there was a glitch and you could not move them up through change sets, which has been restored, thankfully. But so yeah, functionally as an admin, I was an engineer, technically Salesforce systems analyst on a team of people keeping CPQ alive for a very large company. And then I moved to a startup where I was, again, one half of the team doing most of the configuration work, but then also working with my developer counterpart and our manager to kind of decide what we were going to do, how we were going to solve the problems for the business, and then building those solutions out and then seeing if the business used any of those solutions we built for them. The advantage to that being they actually got into production, whereas with your big aerospace company, you'll work 6 months on a project that will then get shelved 2 weeks before launch. So you just have to, with Salesforce, you have to appreciate that you learned something while you were building it, because what you build doesn't always get used, or if it does get used at all. Sometimes it's a hit and it's great. Then, all about adoption and things, you got to try to get your users to adopt what you're building, and part of that is making sure you actually deliver what they need, not necessarily what they asked for. And that's a big part of moving into today.
I'm not going to lie. I tried to tee it up for you to not talk about your current position because I didn't want, we do not get referral bonuses for all the people we place in the ecosystem, but hearing what he does at his day job would probably prevent some of you from maybe getting a Salesforce job.
It's super easy, and it's always fun.
Thank you.
The biggest thing I feel in problem solving is setting correct expectations, but asking the right questions as well. Like I said, starting out with a question as simple as, what problem are we trying to solve? Why is it a problem? Going down the rabbit hole of getting to the root source of the pain points, right? And that includes maybe even talking to the people, the end users who use the system and why it's a pain point for them. So to your question, I guess, to elaborate on problem solving is just really taking one question, swinging to the next in a natural transition, digging deep to find the root of the problem, and then what the solution needs to be. You need to connect those dots as what the problem is and how do we solve it.
And problem solving is priceless. You can't just be an order taker, I think, in this new iteration of Salesforce and the ecosystem. So Jeans, as an architect, how do you problem solve?
Well, the first general rule is that the client never knows what they want, right? As long as you keep that in mind, you're sort of in a position where you can stay outside of the box while also hearing, well, what makes me angry today? What's pissing me off in my current system? Whatever, like that sort of thing is sort of what you're looking to target, like David asked. So as an architect, when you're off at the beginning of, say, a project engagement or a sales process or whatever it might be, that's sort of what you're looking to target. We're not just looking to fulfill a contract or build a system and say goodbye. There's your system, never see you again. You're also, in some respects, trying to build a relationship with these people and really try to solve what it is that's making their day suck, right? And that sounds dramatic. That sounds, all cheesy. But that really is what I enjoy about it, is these sort of, it's one thing to give you what you asked for, but why did you ask for it? And what can I do to actually solve the deeper problem? So, I mean, it's you describe the admin perspective, it's exactly the same for any other role, I'd say.
I'm curious, Lauren, because you're more of the doer on the technical side as a developer. Like, how do you get something from an architect giving you direction on to do something and then problem solve from there? Because I'm going to make an assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not talking to end users like, let's say, an architect or a consultant.
I like talking to end users. One of the reasons why I've stayed in the Salesforce world is because I think more so than but yes, you're right. A lot of developers don't interact so much, but more so than other, I guess, like specializations within programming, I feel like I have more access to my end users, which is cool. And there are layers of end users. But anyway, so the way that I solve a problem is I try to break it down into like the smallest piece. So basically, the pieces that they've both mentioned about how you want to solve the right problem. So once we've identified we're solving the right problem, it's kind of like taking away like breaking down the complexity into the smallest chunks of logic, I guess, or of like deliverable value, I guess I'll say, and then writing to those. And my preference is to start with the hardest and most complex thing that's stressing me out the most, to start with that thing, because once I've figured that thing out, then the rest of it, I'm not super concerned about. So so I think I'm more like low level, I think, in the sense that I'm like really thinking about like super tiny problems a lot of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chris, how do you solve problems?
Let's see, like for users, like end users, people that come with me with...
absolutely.
I mean, if you're an admin or spend any time as an admin, they'll be like, I want this field. And you're like, okay, but what do you actually want? And you got to be real clever as to how you manage their expectations and also how you appear to them. So I always start with, I'm happy to help. But let's dig into what you're actually looking for here, because this may or may not be the solution. And if it's not, then I want to find that solution, and I want it to be something that's going to make your life easier. So you tell me you want a field with this value, but why does that value matter, and where's that value coming from, and are you ever going to use the field? Like, if nobody fills that field in, is it going to have any value at all, even if someone did put one in? So part of it is really getting to the crux of what they are looking to accomplish with their request, which can be very different than what they asked you for. And hopefully your stakeholder understands that. They understand that you are the professional. You are there to solve their problem. They just need to be candid with you about what they hope to achieve with their request. Even with those difficult stakeholders, you kind of have to shepherd them a little bit, and you have to really try to dig and be like, I am 100% on your side. I'm here to help. I just want to make sure that the solution I give you is exactly what you need, and it might be different than what you're asking for. And you hope that you build up some credibility. You get a couple of wins, and then they start to trust you a little more. And then even if it's a client, you name it, they come to you with a problem, they come to you with something that's pissing them off, you solve that for them, and then they're going to trust you a little bit more next time.
All right, that wasn't as bad as I thought, so thank you for that.
I did say I hope they get fired.
Oh, sorry, I blocked that out. Sometimes you say things and I'm like, wow, and then it just like exits as soon as it enters. All right, Carlos.
We'll connect on LinkedIn, and you can give me your best offer.
Yeah, I can describe a little bit of what, not just what I think a good DevOps process looks like, but what honestly a good any process should end up being like, really. And it's the mission statement of DevOps, and the times that I've, chatted about it with clients, is you're looking for quick and clean releases that don't slow people down. that's usually comes into play with continuous integration, if you've heard that term, continuous deployment, if you've heard that term. But it's this concept of, in my opinion, maybe it's not factual, but the idea of quickly getting requirements down, defining how long it'll take, defining what it takes to do that work, building it, testing it, and you're out the door and you start it again. It's this sort of, you always see like the little infinity sign whenever you like Google DevOps or something, this idea of continuous integration. That's what I've always thought of it as a high level in terms of the concept. The matter of what tools you use. If you hate Jira, maybe you'll love GearSet or something like that.
Or maybe you'll like Trello, which Atlassian also owns.
Please don't drop the mic.
I'm not sponsored.
I built neither of these tools, so I have very
She leaves.
surface relation to them.
Oh, that's the Salesforce one, right? Yeah.
Nobody's even taken a second look.
I'm not sponsored by any of these tools. Hike2 does not own any themselves, so otherwise I would have mentioned it. But maybe one day, yeah. Oh, if you use that for DevOps, I don't know what'll happen, but but yeah, I mean that's like the surface of the rabbit hole, I would say.
So I can go first. I was on a team where it was myself and I was actually on a web dev team there were two Salesforce people, resources, or however you want to call it, on that team. Myself as an admin/analyst, and then a senior developer who left the company shortly thereafter. So essentially, I filled in the skills gap by intentionally wanting to learn how to program, well, I had learned like HTML and CSS and JavaScript on my own initially years before, and then had intentionally wanted to learn Apex and then like the Salesforce kind of implementations or their own flavors of JavaScript and Lightning through Lightning components. So I spent my weekends and nights working on that. I had mentors. I connected with people. I will say that my husband is a programmer, and I was very fortunate that we had some like coding dates, which was
Where's the aw?
it's cute. It's cute until you are like. Those really prepared me
Go
for PR
on.
reviews.
Do we need to start a support group for couples that learn to code together?
So, but anyway, so like that was actually like, I think very useful for me was finding a mentor essentially who would help me to, I guess, like progress faster through like sifting through a lot of there's just a lot of information online, and it's hard to kind of know what direction to go in. And so that was honestly what my mentor people in my life were the most helpful with. But for me, it just took like having a dev org and just like building stuff and breaking stuff and doing Trailhead stuff. And then also being able to, once that senior dev I worked with left the company, to implement stuff at work, because then I felt like, okay, I actually have to know how to like write this well and have it work and not leave like a awful legacy of code in my past. So anyway, yeah, I think that's having like the outside experience coupled with like the mentorship as well as internal in-house stuff at my job.
How about you, Jeans?
I think in my case, it was a mixture of both bothering the people that had the power to let me move into a different role, and then combined with having the initiative to, both do that, but also learn the skills that are involved. In terms of an architect in my position, there might be a lot more soft skills involved. There might be a lot more conversational aspects to the job. I'm not saying anything about a developer, right? But it's no. I'm used to working with developers who are like, leave me alone, let me type my code all day. So that's why I say that. But it was focusing on, there's a concept of a project retrospective, I'll say, where you go over with your team and look at a project and say what went well, what didn't go well, what did I like, what didn't I like, and sort of taking the time to sort of do almost a personal retrospective. What did I really like about that project? What made me stress out, like when I went to bed that night? What was really bothering me and what wasn't? What did I really enjoy? When did time fly by for me? Right, and sort of focusing and using that to help your conversation with yourself to figure out what it is you want to do, and then just move in that direction. Obviously, it's not always that easy. You may not have the managers that get you to where you want to go right away, but just keeping that drive, and again, it sounds cheesy, keeping that drive and making sure you yourself want it. I mean, you're gonna hopefully end up where you want to be, and at least along the way, develop the skills that will get you where you want to be, whether it's hard, soft, whatever.
I have an interesting perspective on this. Take it or leave it. Don't hold me to it and come back and be like, Nikki, you just screwed me over. Go join a consulting firm that's not Hike2.
Or is.
No, just wait. That just will put you on any project, regardless of what your experience is, and get tossed out into the deep end, and then all of a sudden over the weekend you got to figure out the basics of, I don't know, Marketing Cloud.
I will say I joined Hike2 when it was...
Hike2 doesn't sound like you guys would do that. So.
I joined when there was like 5 people big, so I had no choice but to be just thrown into the deep end of the swimming pool, and I think there's value to that for sure.
Honestly, I just went through a whole year of rebuilding a team. It was difficult because there were just some people who weren't willing. Willing is the word I will use. I think anybody is capable of doing stuff. Willing's a different conversation. They just weren't willing to grow with the team or get behind the vision of where we needed to go, because it is a uphill battle that we're trying to fix at my current organization. But on the flip side of like kind of that negative space, I was able to hire a bunch of really great people and sift through countless resumes and interviews throughout the year to really find those nuggets out there. And in all honesty, I feel really grateful because the team that I built, they have the soft skills and the determination and the willingness to grow and learn. And so for me to put challenges out there to them, I want you to go get this cert, or I need you to learn a non-Salesforce software because now our team is managing it. It makes those conversations and those asks a lot easier. So I've set myself up and the team for success to like do those things.
And I'll agree with Nikki real quick. You do want to hire the nuggets. But I haven't done I've done a little hiring just recently, but other than that, mentee-mentor relationship has been big, and so that's how I would phrase that. And what I'm looking for in a mentee is someone who's hungry, not only willing, but like I'll do the same process to everyone who asks me for help. I give them the same resources. The ones that come back to me and said, okay, I did that, what's next? Those are the people you can help. The people that are like, well, I thought you were going to do more for me. I was like, I can't learn on your behalf. Like, all I can do is give you the same resources I used, and if you accomplish those things, come back and we'll go to the next level.
I actually carve out time for my team during our sprints for learning and development.
Ooh, like a good manager. Yeah. Let's give a round of applause for Nikki. That is a good manager.
I know a bunch of you just like totally trashed Jira, which if some of you guys didn't realize, Atlassian is the owner of Jira. And that's why Lauren's
currently seething.
Yeah, if you can't tell. Just kidding.
To be fair, it is like the best out of all the work item management tools.
True. But we use Jira, and I honestly have initiatives on our board, milestones, epics, the whole bit, all the way down to individuals of what training I I'm looking for them to do. So it's in tickets, it's in our sprints, and there's deadlines and all of that good stuff. For me, personally, it's being a better leader. I've been taking leadership courses, working with a coach, because this is a whole new realm for me. I've always been an individual contributor, always just trying to kick ass, build things, and just like move on to the next. And so leading people is this new realm for me, and I want to kick ass in it, but I know it's like different than just like building stuff. So for me, that's it. For my team, CPQ and billing, because those are our biggest points of contention with our Salesforce org, but also AI, because everybody wants it.
What does that stand for?
I don't know, but like I think there's like certs and stuff. I don't know. It's someone else's problem. So.
I would also I'd add to that, like this is a question that I was asked by a mentee recently. What should I be doing? So if you have a job in Salesforce, if you landed your first gig recently, or you're in a position now where you want to know what's next, and it's like, should I get this certification? Should I go for the super badge or get on Trailhead? The answer is yes, go for those things. But more than anything, your next employer is going to want to know what you did in your last role. And so this is where, if you're a consultant, jump on that project that you don't know anything about, knowing that you have access to Trailhead, and you can skill up over the weekend if you have to, but ideally during the next sprint. The point is, like, what all of this is about is people pay us to solve problems. And so the more knowledge we can bring to the table when it's time to solve those problems, the better we're going to be at, and the more we can ask for in remuneration and in the future. So jump on projects you don't know anything about, provided you're willing to learn. And don't expect that it's going to be easy, but expect that on the other side, the next time that comes up, you'll be able to answer some questions. And that's going to put you front and center in a lot of people's minds. And so if you don't have your first gig yet, and you're skilling up now, and you're about to take your certification test, or you're just starting out on Trailhead, that's the best place you can be. As soon as you get your cert, then you start looking for opportunities to get real experience in a real org. And there's talking about imposter syndrome. That never goes away. So it doesn't matter if you're getting your first gig or you're an architect jumping on a project that is behind schedule and over budget. It's like you're going to walk in and you'll be like,
oh, all of them, you mean?
Yes, exactly. So don't ever expect that let's see, good advice from one of the best developers I know, one of them, not just I know more, was if you enter a room and you find yourself the smartest person in that room, it's time to find a different room. So anytime, and that comes back to comfort. If you're comfortable in your role, it's probably time to branch out and look for something else that can challenge you, because the last thing you want to do is have a job. Like, you always want to be growing and exploring and seeing what's next.
I think the skill that I would talk about, especially in terms of what I want to improve myself, and this isn't even a Salesforce specific one, this is just in general consulting, it's got to be time management is probably the thing that I constantly want to improve on. And that's very broad, right? But I'm talking primarily in the aspect of know what you're capable of and know what you're not capable of, and work with that. There's been so many situations over the past 4 years where I'm like, oh, I can do that. Oh, and I can do that too. Oh, why don't I do that too? Because I can. Don't do that. You will become so overwhelmed, and you'll do no good work anywhere. So time management in terms of, here's what I can do. What are the things I can slot into those places? Figuring that out, knowing what you're capable of, is going to be a pretty important skill to have.
Yeah, I agree with that time management one. I feel like lately for the past year, I've finally just been like, I'm gonna double estimate everything I work on, because then you can have extra time left over, best case scenario, but that rarely happens. So I think another piece of that, because I agree, is prioritization, and like that's for my own kind of prioritizing my own learnings as well. Similar to what Chris was saying, like I kind of got through my career. I've gotten through my career so far by saying yes to things until I have experienced them, and then have realized that I want to start saying no to them. So the things I keep saying yes to are the things that I follow in my career that I actually find joy in and enjoy most of the time. So I will what was I just saying? I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so prioritization, thank you. So prioritization, now that I've gotten to a place where I'm kind of I've passed the point of taking on whatever opportunities are presented to me, because now I kind of have the experience to decide what I actually think I'll enjoy doing. I do want to prioritize kind of what drives me and what is motivating to me within this space and what I actually really, really love doing. So not only prioritizing the things throughout my day, but also making sure that high up in that priority list is something that I really want to learn. For example, like how to plug in an LLM into, like a custom LLM into our Salesforce org, or I don't know, getting better at React. Like things like that are things that I want to prioritize in my time personally in the next year or so.
I think that even feeds up into that question earlier, right, about doing what you want to do. I mean, if you're focusing on what you want to do and what is important, you're going to get there a lot quicker.
A skill set that I probably want to, because I'm actually relatively new into the Salesforce consulting world, is you kind of touched on, is that imposter syndrome, is actually having confidence in going in, not really headstrong, but very, like I said, confident, and not double questioning myself. I constantly am, is this the right way to do it? I know the right answer, and I'm always trying to almost validate that I'm right, and I just need to stop doing that. So, but beyond that, always learning is always, like you said, you don't ever want to have a job. You want to have a career, right? So you want to continuously learn, find that career path. I'm still learning what that is for me because I am so new, but I think, one of the two realms I would go into is maybe more client engagement, like what Nate does, or more dev. I know those are wildly different, but I see myself in both roles, really. But the more I learn in the consulting and the admin world, it will probably shine a light in one direction or the other.
I just want to say one thing before I forget the thought, is that if people who are looking for ways to actually build out implementations and get hands-on experience, I believe Salesforce has I think it's Salesforce's website, but there's a site where there are nonprofit projects that range in complexity and skill level that people can, I guess, I don't think you can, I think you have to apply for it in some way, but that's a really good way to not only build up your skill set, but also give back and see some real life use cases for different Salesforce solutions.
Nice.
But again, real quick, make sure you have the time.
Yeah, don't overcommit. Okay, real quick question, even quicker answers from you all, and then, because we're coming up on time, and so you guys think of your last final questions as we wrap up. All right, ready? Just say yes. Yeah, we're ready. Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Was that
thank
your
you.
last question?
Yes. That was a quick answer. And we're good.
That was easy. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. We're out. I'm gonna fall.
All right. How many Salesforce certs do you have? Wait. There's a part 2 to this. Which one is the most helpful for your current position? Boom. Go, Jeans.
9.
Okay.
Maybe application architect. I say that because it sort of put all the pieces together in sort of like a big umbrella, and I thought that was just helpful for me in terms of well, here's all the tools you learned about in the lower certs. Here's you trying to apply them to a test, which no one likes tests, but it helped.
All right. Lauren.
I have 4 certs, and I will say the most, I think, admin, because you're going to know I have the dev cert, and I know how to write Apex. You're not going to hire a dev who doesn't know how to write Apex. But does the dev know different things about security and other pieces that aren't necessarily part of the dev cert? I think that, especially within the Salesforce world, you're just a stronger developer if you understand the system in its fullness.
I will 1,000% agree with that statement. Yeah.
I have 3 certifications, and I will agree the admin, because it is what I do every day. I also have advanced admin and platform app builder. All 3 kind of tie together, like what Jeans was saying with his certification. So all 3 of them served me very well, but you couldn't pass any of them without the admin. So
I have admin, and that's definitely the most important, and that's what I tell everyone. Get that, and then see what you want to do. I was given advice by my mentor to wait until someone gives me money to get more certs. So if I went to a consultant company, they gave me little bonuses, because so I don't think it would be difficult to pass a lot of those, was it advanced admin, CPQ, platform app builder, things like that. But at the end of the day, like experience, it all comes back to experience. So consultants want you to have more certs because they look better to Salesforce, and so I'm happy to do that if I ever to go to consultant. But in the meantime, I'm just building experience.
Great answer, Chris. All right.
I was booth hopping looking for swag, you know? So, and then I dropped by Hike2, and we got into the conversation of, well, what is Hike2? And then I started, he kind of was talking about the consulting side of it, the managed services projects. I mentioned that I had my admin cert, and then I started talking shamelessly about the things that I've done, one of those things that you need to know. And it kind of went into, well, if you're looking, I could put you in touch with the right people, I think was his exact verbiage. And so we linked in, and then about a month and a half later, I went through a nice interview process and ultimately got an offer and took it. And here I sit in front of you.
How was the swag?
There was so much. It was
Good.
great.
Also, I just realized Lauren
great.
and Jeans need to switch places. It's all right. Next
I think they figured it out after a while.
Yeah.
This
Who
should
said
be
that?
easy. How many of you are remote versus in office? Or both? And what percentage?
Both 20% in the office.
I'm fully remote.
I am fully remote with option of office, which is upstairs here in this building. So I drive in from Colorado Springs, so I'd probably say like 1% in office, and 99% remote.
So tonight counts.
Tonight does count.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This one's a little bit loaded just because I've got two Hike2 people up here, but I'm also really curious because rewind maybe a year, 2 years ago. Something like that. Jeans and I both moved out here, and we didn't have much of a Colorado team. So we actually recently opened an office space here, but it's not required. So my question is, for those who go into the office, whether it's part-time, full-time, somewhere in the middle, why do you like to go in the office, or why do you like to work remote, and do you like having a blend?
I'm someone who's very susceptible to cabin fever. I'm totally able to work remote 100%, but I just don't want to, which, is valid. Thank you very much. And I just like being around people generally. I mean, that's part of cabin fever, right, for a lot of people. And the office we have, again, this is not a Hike2 ad, but it's a very nice co-working space. And even though I don't know a lot of the people there, it's just nice to be somewhere different and around a bunch of people. That's something that I really enjoy. So that's why I like to go in occasionally.
Free food and snacks.
Yes, that too. Free coffee, all that kind of good stuff.
I actually prefer to be, being that I have a, hospitality background, working fully remote, it kills me. It's I'm used to being around people. I enjoy it. It's kind of like a upper for me. So I would definitely prefer to be more hybrid, because in all of my working remote, I found that I can sit down and grind some work. So it's super productive time. But I miss people overall. Like COVID's over and I'm like isolated. Like I'm still, by myself all the time with my cats.
I was going to say real quick, in addition to that, when I'm at home, I'm like, oh, I got to go do the dishes real quick, or, oh, I have to do laundry today, and then I get nothing done.
If you want to get things done, stay home. If you want, but office life can be great for snacks, for team building, and for brainstorming, provided your team is also there with you. But if you're going to be on a Zoom call, no matter where you're at, why does it matter? But yeah, for getting things done, nothing beats remote work. For team building and brainstorming, provided your team is on site, or going to an on site with your team, nothing beats kind of being in person and growing that social aspect of your career.
I just want to add the Hike2 team is awesome too. That's why I like going to the office.
So not only do you all have to be in the same room, like you have to like them.
You don't.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Was that a question?
Just asking. Just asking.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you again, Hike2. Again, without sponsors, it's difficult to do these events, and we're trying to grow the community here in Denver and Colorado in general. And we really appreciate partnering with Hike2 both for the venue and for the catering tonight. So it's fantastic. We look forward to working with you more for other awesome events, and then seeing you again at Mile High Dreamin.
Yay! Thank you.
Nikki, you want to put the Slack back on?
Yes.
Join us on Slack and also on LinkedIn, even though we don't have a code for it. All right, so we got some time. Grab some more snacks, have some beverages, and thank you so much for coming out.